there was enough network coverage across the country to make electronic transmission of results work. Earlier, an executive commissioner of the Nigerian Communications Commission, Adeleke Adewolu, told the House of Reps that less than 50% of polling units in the country have 3G network to transmit electoral results electronically. Afterwards, the Speaker, Femi Gbaja, noted that the House was not against electronic transmission of election results. He said that. Now, listen. A coalition of 42 civil society organizations on Monday last week alleged that the National Assembly was planning to pass a manipulated copy of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill in a plenary scheduled for July 8th. Right? This was July 16 rather. Now, the CSOs under the aegis of Alliance of Civil Society Organizations for Expansion of Electoral and Democratic Space has made the allegation in an emergency press briefing last week that the alleged final copy of the Electoral Amendment Bill, which they have revealed, does not represent the interest of the Nigerian people. This got a lot of people talking. As a matter of fact, the Southern Governors Forum came together and said, they are not for this. This will not stand. Now, after the passage of that amendment bill last week by the National Assembly, both houses, what is left now is to transmit that to the presidency. And I asked the question earlier this morning whether you feel by doing this, your lawmakers, the senators and the House of Rep members took this decision in your best interest, or in their best interest, or in their party's best interest, whichever way, whatever interest. I asked that question earlier in the morning. Do you think that they have taken the independence away from INEC by giving a conditional approval to INEC in conducting elections in the country? These are the questions these are more, as a matter of fact, the questions that we intend to answer this morning's show. I have Liborous Oshoma in the studio this morning. Liborous, a very lovely morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
Liborous is a constitutional lawyer and, of course, a public affairs analyst. I also have joining us via the telephone all the way from Port Harcourt this morning, Alesta Wilcox. Alesta, a very lovely morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sheriff, for having me. It's a pleasure. Liborous, how you doing?
Adeo, good morning, Atabalama.
Wow, now me and you again.
Don't go eat fish for Port Harcourt.
I think I suspect Sheriff. Anyway, national assignment. I'm having a dream holiday in Port Harcourt, but it's fine.
Fantastic. It wasn't planned. I didn't know that you're not being in town. I couldn't. I wanted to have you live here.
I couldn't reject you. I couldn't reject you, Sheriff. I know I've told you that.
Alesta is always accusing you anytime I'm in the studio.
In Sambisa Forest fighting Boko Haram, I'll see pick your call and listen.
While fighting Boko Haram, Alesta, let's begin.
Okay.
What's your reaction to the passage of the Electoral Amendment Bill last week by the National Assembly?
Well, Sheriff, sincerely, the noise and the cacophony of voices has really drowned the event. Like you said, a coalition of some civil society, first and foremost, should fly a kite. Well, I'll call it a kite.
Right.
Because anything that does not come out from official sources in Nigeria today, I'll call it a kite. No matter how credible those sources might be. Anything that does not come from official, as far as Nigeria is today, with social media, junk journalism, and a lot of anything that does not come from the official angle, I will call it flying a kite. It might be true, it might not be true. So when they fly those kites, I begin to. I mean, for me, I said these guys are opening up a new vista for several commentaries and opinions. So and. It wasn't far from the truth that when the Senate passed their version, everybody shouted, "Hello, Baloo! Oh, what's this? What's that? This and that." I did not, even with the shout, I didn't get to know the nitty gritty and the exact thing that the Senate passed. The noise was too much. The House of Assembly passed their own the next day. It was the same. It was later I started digesting some of the facts and begin to look at the oppositions and the reception about the whole thing, that okay. I begin to make a sense out of it. But the fact is, this bill has been long in the works, very long in the works. It has gone through several batches. The last bill we had, I think it was the 2012 bill. Liborous will help me there. It was 2012 bill. That's the last bill we had. And we also know what the Supreme Court did when Canada was introduced on account of that bill. So we all, for me, I'm happy that a bill has been passed. whatever that is that is going to remain is for that bill to be acceptable by the presidency, because I see a situation whereby there is going to be a conference of the House, a conference to harmonize, a harmonization conference, a committee to harmonize the bill before a copy is passed to the president, and then the presidency will now have its own input. So at least for me, at least there's a progress in terms of a bill was passed, and any other thing should be matters arising for us to get a perfect bill.
Indeed. Liborous.
Yes, unlike my brother and friend Alesta, I was not drowned in the cacophony because I have followed amendment of the Electoral Act from 2003. So let me quickly give us a background story. In 2011, when the card reader was introduced, Senator Udoma Egbe, prior to 2015 election, then PDP was in power. Senator Udoma Egbe stood on the floor of the Senate to say that in seeking the nullification of introduction or usage of card reader, he was the majority leader of the House then, said that it amounted to electronic voting and that they were opposed to it. And some of the senators in opposition, the APC senator, vehemently opposed that move by the PDP leaders then to oppose the usage of card readers. That it amounted to taking us back, that anything that could promote transparent election should be welcome in Nigeria. But today, Senator Udoma Egbe is in APC, though. So, and the matter went to Supreme Court after the election, and the case of Rivers State, where Alesta is in now, the Supreme Court, in determining overvoting, we criticize the Supreme Court seriously, severally on that. In determining overvoting, rather than reckon with the card reader, went and said that since the card reader was not part of our laws, that it was an INEC bylaws, it was a regulation made by INEC pursuant to the powers donated to it by Section 78 of the Constitution, and that so since it wasn't part of the Constitution, for you to reckon with overvoting, you will have to go to the electoral register. So the only way you can determine overvoting is if the number of actual voters is actually more than the number of the registered voters and not more than the number of accredited voters by the card reader, because that was what happened in Rivers State. We all shouted foul that no, we need to take our election beyond this. There's need to include it. The APC that lost out in that case called Supreme Court names, and which we also did, that look, we need to introduce this in our laws to ensure that it is captured, everybody will see it. And then we started a journey of amending the Electoral Act to reflect these changes. And just before the last election in 2019, the Electoral Act was amended. The president said it was too close to the time of election and he couldn't assent to it. And then after election, we started another journey of amending the Electoral Act. And here we are, just few days to the sitting. There was a kite by the Southern governors and civil society that there is indeed a surreptitious move to smuggle in or amend or remove clause section 52. Subsection 3 in section 52. And members of the committee, technical committees, including those that took part in the debate, said no, that's not the case, because what actually transpired was that we debated on this matter and we agreed that INEC can use electronic method to transmit results when practicable. When practicable was eventually agreed upon. And true to type, on the day the matter was to be debated, clause by clause, the Senate, in an abracadabra move, introduced a clause. It's like, and that's my words, take it home. In giving with one hand and taking with another, contrary to section 78 of the Constitution, gave INEC power to transmit election result electronically, but with accreditation from NCC and subject to the confirmation of the National Assembly. And so people were like, you're a participant in the election.
What is your thought on that?
My thought, that's what I'm telling you. It is contrary to the provisions of the Constitution.
I think Liborous time I was brief in my submission.
So that's why I had to give you.
I'll come to you.
That's why I gave you. That's why I gave you this. That's why I gave you this background story where we are coming from. So what you can see here, it's not a party thing. It's a united effort by a ruling class, the ruling class in Nigeria, to deny the people of a transparent election. That's my thoughts.
All right. Alesta, what's your reaction to that clause in 52 sub 3 of that Electoral Act Amendment Bill that says that INEC can conduct election electronically and can transmit results of elections electronically, provided they get approval of the NCC and the Senate?
Well, Kodri, that is the Senate version. I think the House of Rep version is more direct and clear.
Okay.
And that's why I said the conference committee that will look at that will harmonize. Now, I'm happy that Liborous given us a very good background of where we are coming from. And I'm happy also that he mentioned the fact that it was Wike, what's his name now? Udom, the man in Delta. What's his name? The governor of Delta State.
Okay.
We are the arrowhead at the Supreme Court, for which their Supreme Court judges saw with them and destroyed INEC independence in introducing card reader. And after that time, whatever when he called Senate abracadabra, well, I would say the Supreme Court then was abracadabra, because that day everybody in Nigeria, every progressive in Nigeria was taken aback at that Supreme Court decision.
I agree.
And which gave the PDP, the two of the PDP governors, victory over the use of card reader. So I'm even at a loss as to today why it is the PDP. Like, anyway, Liborous.
I'm waiting for a response to the question I asked, Alesta.
I'm only just putting a little bit of background.
Okay.
So I'm surprised today that it is the same PDP that killed card reader as really the champion of electronic transfer of results. Noting fully well what they did in 2019 when they went and invented servers that never existed, and I don't know where they got their results. So you can see that at every point in time, everybody is trying to perfect this act or how to change the Nigerian people. My comment as to where the issue lies. Now, Senate called the NCC to come and advise it. Because we are talking about electronic transfer. This is a country where our technology, our communication technology has not gotten to its level.
Right.
Today, your staff was calling me on this line. It couldn't go through for a while. They had to call the other line. I had to reboot this line, this phone, for me to receive calls. I have not received any calls since I just discovered that, and I'm in Port Harcourt.
Okay.
Now you're now talking of the man in Toruk Bene and the man in Anagbeti, one remote polling station in Anagbeti clan, or the one in somewhere in Karunamoda, one remote place. And so it was nice that the Senate called the NCC to say, look, what is our position? And the NCC made it clear. And the Senate said, look, we are not opposed to it. Anyway, the APC side of the Senate said, we're not opposed to it. We want us to have a perfect election. So just like card reader was having its ups and downs, we also know that even the card reader was having its ups and downs. Sometimes you cannot accredit, sometimes you accredit, it doesn't get to the server and all that. So they said, look, we need to get this clear. It's not just to say INEC must use electronic transfer of results, but are we at the position where INEC can use it? So that, I think for me, that is a very wonderful. I think for me, that's a good position to anchor it. And then the House of Reps makes also.
Before we go to the House of Reps, how about that clause that says Senate must approve?
No, Senate. That is the law. Now, Senate must not approve. Senate must amend the law. It's not approval. Senate cannot approve.
Are you sure you are not changing things? Have you read that part? I'm telling you that is what it reads. That is what it says.
Liborous is a lawyer. Let me say this.
Okay, say.
The National Assembly cannot approve. They can only make a law for the president to approve. So if maybe it's systematic, and for me, I want to take the part that that is legal.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Now,
I'm listening.
what I think for me, in my thinking, is what they should mean at that point is this: if the NCC says yes, we are comfortable that this can happen, they will now need to re-amend that section to say because they cannot approve. It's not possible that they should approve anything for anybody. They are only making law. Even their motions is not. Even the motions they pass on the floor does not have a effect of law. It also has to be implemented by the executive or by whoever that is. So even that's why most of their motion goes just like that. Yeah. So they cannot approve. Maybe that word is wrong.
So you disagree with that word?
No, of course. I don't even
the choice of word.
It doesn't even exist. It's choice of word. It doesn't exist because they cannot approve. They can only amend the law for the president to assent to give it legal backing.
Let's hear from Liborous now to give us the legal interpretation of that before we go to break.
Thank God Alesta has said that he's drowned in the cacophony, so he still does not get a grasp of what is going on. The National Assembly says the NCC will confirm and they will approve for you to use card reader. For you to transmit election result electronically. NCC will confirm, oh yes, you can do it in this place. And then National Assembly, you will now write to the National Assembly, they will now pass a resolution, it's okay, we have approved it, go ahead. It is not that they will approve the law, no. It is the law. That's a proviso to section 52, subsection 3. That's what we call in law a proviso. That so you can't do this until we do this. So thank God we are on agreement in this. What it means is that if you look at section 78 of the Constitution, the registration of voters and the conduct of the election shall be subject to the direction and supervision of INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission. If you now go to Article F, paragraph 15A, the commission shall have powers to organize, undertake, and supervise all elections. Organize, undertake, and supervise. That's why it is an independent body. Because the members of the National Assembly, the president, the governors are going to be participants in any election that they would conduct. So if you now take the section of the Constitution does not intend to put the approval of any means to be used by INEC in the hands of any agency to be controlled by any party.
So and that's why.
Don't ask me. You are here to answer questions. Don't ask me. When I'm done, don't distract me.
Liborous,
so it is not the intendment of the drafters of this constitution that INEC would be subject to approval from any agency of government to conduct, to supervise, or undertake an election. And that was why when the Supreme Court destroyed the usage of card reader, and that's why we all came out to say that this is wrong. And so what you have here, it's a gang up of the ruling class. Gentlemen, it's not a party thing.
Let's go to break. We'll be right back. Alesta, please stay on the line.
This is an infomercial.
One-stop financial services solutions provider, Tangerine, has officially launched in Nigeria. Tangerine leverages on a tech-driven, flexible, high-access platform to drive business across all the financial services segments in Africa to deepen financial inclusion, facilitate wealth creation and protection. Tangerine seeks to democratize access to financial services and products by developing simple value-adding products that are easy to understand and which leverage technology to increase ease of accessibility, helping millions of uninsured Nigerians have protection or save for the future. Tangerine comprises of the following entities: Tangerine Life, Tangerine General, Tangerine Pensions, and Tangerine Money. For more information, visit www.tangerine.africa.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We'll be right back.
I just bought a land at Ikorodu and I want to commence building immediately.
Nice! Please, I would like to work on your site.
Which work do you do? Women work in offices and not sites. Come on.
I am a bricklayer.
Oh, really? Is that not a job for men only?
No! Lots of women do it too. There are over 190 career opportunities in construction and they are all gender neutral. From architect to painter, electrician, engineer, carpenter, site manager, surveyor, even machine operator like my friend Lara. To know more of these careers, ladies can visit www.interbowfoundation.org to download the careers in construction pamphlet. If you want to immediately kickstart a career in construction, send a mail to info@interbowfoundation.org or send I am interested in construction to 081 85 96 6092.
Apollo, my guy. How every now?
Benjo, what in now? That is money you just call me.
See, 9 Mobile, they give me call bonus while we finish. Now all my guys go here.
If you never recharge your 9 Mobile line for 40 days or more, recharge 200 naira and above, and we go summer you 6 times your recharge and double data bonus.
Apollo, my guy.
Benjo, see, I go block you now. You go see him.
Terms and conditions day. 9 Mobile.
Did you know chronic stress from work or lifestyle habits may result in fatigue, headaches, and pains? Stress reduces the body's ability to fight diseases, leaving you vulnerable. Your day will be much better knowing you have the right immune support to help you combat symptoms of stress. Immune Active is a premium blend of high-strength vitamin C, zinc, and selenium that helps prevent recurring diseases, improves skin radiance, and boosts confidence. Activate your immune system today with Immune Active. Available at any leading pharmacy store near you and online at oaklifevitamins.com.
There are 3 people whose calls I won't miss for the world. My mom.
Oh, my grandbabies.
My wife.
Babe, I have gist.
And finally, Dele, my guy, who works at ARM. I can't afford to miss his calls. You see, Dele is always on my matter, informing me about investment opportunities before everyone else so I can always be ready. He always has a new strategy to grow my money. The way he carries the matter on his head, you would think it's more than just his day job. But that's why Dele is my person, because he's invested in my tomorrow.
At ARM, we want to help you achieve your goals, because when you succeed, we succeed. Visit www.arm.com.ng. ARM, invested in your tomorrow.
Babe, I can't believe I won't see you again till next week. I've really missed you.
Nah, I miss you more.
That's impossible, because I miss you more.
Me, I miss you like Ilode.
Oh my. Wow, babe, we've been talking for like forever. Oh yeah. Time to hang up.
No, you hang up.
Okay. Let's hang up on 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. You didn't hang up.
Neither did you, Joe.
That's because I don't want to stop hearing your voice.
Aw, babe.
Your pillow talk doesn't have to end when you talk all day long for just 11 co per second to all networks. Dial *311# to get talking right away.
Glow Unlimited.
Oil for a healthy family.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We are back.
We're back on 99.3 Nigeria Info. This is Morning Crossfire on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
You're welcome back to Crossfire here on 99.3 Nigeria Info. I'm Sheriff Quadri. Alesta Wilcox is joining us from Port Harcourt this morning to discuss the Electoral Act Amendment Bill passed by the National Assembly last week. Liborous Oshoma is in the studio, and we're trying to look at both sides to this conversation. You're welcome to join us. We are live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. Nigeria Info 99.3 is how you can reach us on those two platforms. Let us know what you think. On WhatsApp, the number is 0809 597 5805. Before I continue with the conversation with my guests, I'm gonna open up the phone lines and take just two calls to hear your thoughts on how far we've gone on our conversation this morning. 0700 993 993 993, and for the ladies, that's 01 465 7190. That's 01465 7190 for the ladies. Please, if you're calling, go straight to the point. We'd like to hear you clearly. But let's take some thoughts on Facebook very quickly. Gbalan Akibami on Facebook says Senate stance on Electoral Amendment Bill is at variance to Section 78 of the Constitution that guarantees full independence of INEC on electoral matters. Let's see who else is here on Facebook. This person is talking about the miseducation that is very rampant in the country today concerning elections and electoral matters. Godman is here from Sele. Godman, good morning to you.
Sherry, good morning.
Morning to you.
Yeah, my contribution on the transmission of election electronically is this. The earlies, or whatever they call them, they may have their own. But the truth of the matter remains, Nigeria, we are very, very far from it. Not every part of this country has the access to the telecommunication. Let me shock you this morning. I am from a state in North Central. My local government, for instance, there is no bank in my local government at this age. Now, most of these people calling you and commenting is because the APC want to Rigo. I don't belong to any political party.
Okay.
But I'm telling you the gospel truth that Nigeria is not connected. Election can be transmitted from places like Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Enugu. But if you go to other parts of the country, they don't have access to these things. It is not done. Let's get this one done first before we talk about transmitting election electronically.
Okay.
Where it can be transmitted, let them transmit it. Where it cannot, they should do the normal thing and let us get the result of it. That is my submission, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Godman, for calling me. On YouTube, Temi Dayo, Baye Shola says, I feel Nigerians need to be fully involved in the transformation of politics in Nigeria. INEC needs to be more autonomous and only answer to the rule of law. And Aditola Odushoto says, National Assembly must be very careful because this bill will work against them in the nearest future. Omoba Aditola Odushoto on YouTube, put that across. We'll take one last call before we now go back to my guests on the show today. David is in Ibiza Island. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sherry.
Morning.
You see, these are our politicians. We call them elective representative. What amendment they're supposed to do to make sure INEC is fully independent, not even under the executive, not under judiciary, not under
the legislature.
These are what they're supposed to do. Then we call them elective representatives. They're supposed to bring in what they call this thing, that the people will have to come and vote whether they like yes or no.
Okay. Referendum.
These are the amendments we want them to do. The public hearing they are doing is in secrecy. We don't. People are they calling stakeholders there?
Yes.
Or how many people submit something? Nobody knows.
No, people do actually. If you're not aware, it doesn't mean that they don't do all of these things. Public hearings do go on every now and again by the National Assembly. It's not done in secret.
It should be made public enough that you press people will even be reporting it day to day. And everybody will be aware of what is going on.
All right, David. Thank you for calling me. Appreciate it. Gentlemen, let me come back to you because we still have a couple of other points to talk this morning. Alesta, let me come to you on this one, Alesta. By the amendment passed last week, do you think that amendment takes away or impugn on the independence as guaranteed by the Constitution of INEC?
Well,
Well, that was actually the question I wanted to ask Liborous, but like, as you've asked me, let me take it in full as to what my comments were.
Okay.
The Supreme Court successfully took away INEC independence. When those judgments came out from the Supreme Court, they effectually took away the so-called independence Liborous reeled out in the Constitution. I don't know the particular sections, but as far as a layman, as a political analyst, I know that nobody in Nigeria is above the Constitution. So the Constitution is the grand norm. And so whatever pass against the Constitution, there is also somebody, the people that has been vested with power to amend that Constitution. So there is no absolute independence.
Okay.
So even if INEC is called independent, the independence is the fact that a law should be made for them and they operate the law. So the Supreme Court took away their independence, and which was sad, unfortunate, and even if you see some of the decisions that come out from the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal on account of that Supreme Court judgment on the case of Wike, the case of Udo Ndoma, and that of the Delta State Governor, it totally impugns INEC independence. And by so doing, anybody now can write on that premise and to say there is nothing like absolute independence. Okay. Now, the law is supposed to be made for INEC to follow. Okay. INEC does not come out from the green or from the blue. They come out of, they were given events by the laws of the country and the Constitution, and that the body set out to...
my question again is, because of time, because does INEC still have that independence with these new amendments?
INEC still have the independence because they said INEC, the INEC can use. Now, the word is can where practicable. Now, while I said the state version might be too extreme, and I said, and I repeat myself, the National Assembly do not have the power to approve. That's as far as I'm concerned, because even their motions are not end in itself. Their motions are still subject to implementation by anybody, so they don't.
Okay.
So, but the House of Rep version, which I think maybe at the conference, at the harmonization committee or the commission committee, they might take a position. The House of Rep version says INEC can, where practicable, just like somebody who called you and told you in his video there's no network. And I'm sure in ANEC better, and some of the rural communities in ANEC better, there's no network.
Okay.
I mean, talking about Torik Ben in my area, or talking about all those Ajarikiri and Olorikiri in my area, it might not find network to transmit results.
Okay.
So that is where the House of Rep, I think in their wisdom, they did a good job. Say, INEC can. Nobody's against. I'm not sure anybody's against it. I'm not against it.
Well, the Senate president said they are not against it too.
No, I don't think anybody's against making an election better. Senate president, look, if you say it's serving a particular party, parties change now. So for me, I'm even shocked that the PDP is the one that is facing this small.
So just to be very clear, you don't think that INEC independence has been hampered in this amendment? That's what you're saying.
Has already told you that there's no absolute independence. Okay. So who is hampering it again?
All right.
Which is the senior, which is the overall lawmaking body, because the overall lawmaking body in Nigeria.
All right.
About the president. So they have already removed it from them. So what? So who is removing it?
So let me hear what Liborous thinks about this. Liborous.
Yes. You see. The Supreme Court interprets the law. And if a law is vague, there is need for you to put it in perspective so that it will not be subject to different interpretation. And that's why when the Supreme Court said, look, have recourse, I said this before, have recourse to the law, that the law does not recognize this electronic device you're using. What do we now do? Include it in your law. And the attempt to include it in the law, you are given a proviso that you need to approve. NCC needs to confirm. What is the position of the law? The position of the law is INEC shall transmit result electronically where practicable. Fantastic. Leave it at that. That attempt by the Senate to now smuggle in a proviso to say, provided it is the network is approved, should be approved by NCC and confirmed by the Senate. For me, it's taking away the independence of INEC. You're subjecting INEC now, the method to be used that you have donated to them. That's why I call it abracadabra, magic hand. The method to be used by them that you have donated to them, that you've given to them by law, you're taking it away, bringing it to your approval, tabling it and to their subjecting it to the approval of the NCC. We agree. Even INEC chairman had come out to say that they have the capacity to transmit election results electronically all over the country. And do you know why? Let me quickly break this down. That even if there is no network in some parts in these places, by the time you leave those areas to the local government headquarters or closer to the cities, you will have network. Where do rigging take place? Quickly, we need to understand why this is very important. Do you know, I've been monitoring elections since 1999. Rigging of election takes place not at the polling unit, but at the collation center. That was why Aregbesola, in his second term during the election, because he knew that the PDP rigging machinery at that time would be at work. So what did he do? They ensured that they displayed electronic billboard in every polling unit. So the moment results are announced, you have the result scrolling on the billboard, so people know. These were the same. That's why I said it is not a party thing. It's a gang up of the leadership, of the political leadership. But one thing, like one of the callers said, one thing they don't know, that they forget, is that this thing that they want to do, a dictator tomorrow can come and sit down somewhere and say, since the law does not permit, it must be subject to approval by NCC. NCC can say we will not approve, and then they sit down somewhere and write result and say go to court. So that's why we are saying, look at what happened in Edo. If not for the transmission of results from the polling unit that the whole world would now monitor, it would have been difficult for PDP to win that election. That is why the same PDP that used to complain that they didn't want transmission when they were in power, now they've seen the benefit of transmitting it, they now suddenly want it. And those people, I said it is not a party thing, because some senators of the PDP in the north also voted against the transmission. They voted to include that proviso. And so you also saw that an APC senator in the south voted against it. So that's why it is not a party thing. It's a ruling class thing. And it is removed. It has removed the independence of INEC, if you allow that to stand. Let
me begin this round with you, Liborous, before I come to Alesta. Please listen please listen to this question. Alesta, please listen to this question. Liborous, INEC. Hold on, Alesta. Liborous, INEC came out to say that they had done this before.
Yes,
they had transmitted poll results from polling units before in the past, that they can do it. My question to you is, if INEC is saying that they can do it, does that mean that the National Assembly goofed by not hearing INEC out, or perhaps by not taking INEC's account of past elections into consideration before putting this proviso in that amendment bill? That's number one. Number two is that if INEC goes ahead to conduct future elections, transmitting results from polling units, or saying that this is what they are going to do, to transmit polls result from field, would they be violating the law?
Quickly, let me take the first one, this last question first, and then I would conclude the second one. If INEC goes ahead, if the section remains like that without proviso, and INEC decides to go ahead transmit election results, do you know what that would do? It will open the door for Supreme Courts to begin to interfere in our election. Because what you just need to do is to say this result were transmitted electronically without recourse to the law, without approval from NCC, without approval from Senate. And then the Supreme Court will say, since there are no approval, you nullify the result. Is that what we want as a country? The answer is no. And then on the issue, if you listen to the members of the technical committee of the National Assembly, I'm not talking about the people now themselves, they said the matter was debated at the technical committee. INEC was there, civil society were there, political parties were there, and then they agreed. Initially, it was INEC should transmit election result electronically. And then this issue of that they don't have network coverage all over the country came up. At the end of the day, they all agreed that it should be where practicable. That was how where practicable was included to that section. I had expected that with that, haven't given a job to people to consider, and a technical committee for that matter, that's what they called it. So these are the technical people. Haven't given them that job. One would have expected that, yes, they have done a job and they have concluded. So it is now for you to consider clause by clause. This idea of now trying to smuggle in, oh no, we must approve that network. Does it mean that all the network we are using to transfer money now, or the network that we are using to do NIM registration, it is very important. That is very important. I know your guest tomorrow will talk about it. All the network that we are using to do WAEC and the NECO and all the exams, including transferring bank funds.
Yeah.
So does it mean that NCC had not certified them, or that all the network that even you are using to call Alesta now had not been certified by NCC? How come they are all working in Nigeria? So we should leave this attempt by the ruling class to continually remain in power. They know that the moment you allow transmission of election results from polling units electronically, instead of taking them manually from here to Abuja, where somebody will look for torchlight to begin to read what he wrote by himself, what that means, some of these people who call themselves political lions will be turned to political lizards.
Let me speak with Alesta on this same question. Alesta, you heard the question, the two. Which are you taking first?
Well, I think Liborous has tried to put the wood over everybody's eyes here. The truth of the matter is this. I keep saying, Liborous says that elections is regularly at the collation center. Of course, that's far from the truth. From the polling unit, when elections are not held and results are written there before it takes to the polling center, when ballot boxes are snatched and taken to the bush and filled up, and you can also transmit results from there. So it's talking about, if you think that it's only at the polling unit, at the polling center, that's very, very far from the truth, because if it's at that point, then nobody will be snatching ballot boxes. We will not see in the social media where somebody's in somebody's house and they are printing and they're writing the result there. So that too, anybody that can control the apparatus of those polling units can also control the transmission of results to the server or whatever. So it is not an uhuru. For me, as far as I'm concerned, all this is not an uhuru, because if Nigerian minds are not changed towards good governance and towards accessible election, we will not be that's a circle, because anybody that holds the election material, because that's why you see that before election materials are released, it's a problem. Now, remember what happened in Rivers State? Former Governor Honorable Rotimi Amechi said there's not going to be election in his ward until he sees the form EA6 or EA8 or something. Where is that form? They said the form is not available. They say no election. But yes, at the end of the day, the result came out from that polling unit. So whoever controls the apparatus of the election officers controls everything. Why is that? We have to put from EC8 and all those forms in CBN post. On the day you want to transfer it, you use that more time to transfer those things. So even if you say transmit by electronics from the polling units, from the police center, who holds the apparatus of the INEC officials? We know what happened in Rivers State.
Alesta, we need to begin to go now, but let me ask you your last question. Do you think the president should assent to this bill?
Except a harmonized version, and for me, I will go for the House of Reps.
The House of Reps.
A harmonized version that will put INEC it will not be clear that
completely
INEC
in charge.
Yes, completely in charge. And again, I also fear the Supreme Court. Sincerely speaking, for me, all this brakada we are doing that is doing today, because the Supreme Court failed Nigerians, failed everybody in that. If we had had a judgment that had legalized what they call it, candidate, then every other procedures of finance we have weight, we have force of law.
All right.
But unfortunately, Supreme Court has given us a bad judgment.
All right, Alesta. Let me hear your last word.
I think Alesta does not know the way the court works.
Quickly now.
The court quickly allow you. The court says what the law is. That is why now the Supreme Court had destroyed card reader on the ground that it is not part of our laws. Are we now saying because the Supreme Court did that, we should not amend our laws to include this section so that the Supreme Court will not have opportunity, or the politicians would have opportunity of using the Supreme Court to destroy it? And then lastly, nobody is saying that this will make our election El Dorado, or that, people don't snatch ballots. Yes, but we are saying this step will take us further to eliminating manipulations in our election. That's what people are saying. And so, by the way, Alesta agreed. I wonder what he's trying to defend. He agreed that Senate version is a no-no. So what is he now defending in the same version that is blowing hot and cold from the same mouth?
Do you think the president should assent to this bill?
The president should not assent to that Senate version. The original version that's why the House of Rep, that's why people always say the House of Rep is proactive. Election should be transmitted electronically where practicable. Fantastic.
All right.
That's what we should be talking about, and not adding a proviso to it.
Gentlemen.
And then quickly, lastly, now we know, let's begin to introduce even electronic voting in the National Assembly. Now we know those senators that voted yes and those that voted no. So that when those our own come back, we'll begin to ask them questions.
Liborous Oshoma, thank you so much for joining me on the Crossfire today.
My pleasure.
Alesta Wilcox, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today as well. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Now, Lagos, Nigeria, let's play Just a Minute, brought to you by Nigeria Info 99.3.
In the center of excellence. Over 40 radio stations. Strong 9 million radio audience. Nigeria Info 99.3 is officially the #1 talk station in Lagos. Over 2 million radio listeners, 1.3 million online community, star cast of broadcasters, talk, news, and sports. We are having the biggest conversation right now. Nigeria Info, let's talk.